I'm Craig Kenneth, a relationship coach and a psychotherapist. Every relationship is different and every breakup is different. Work with me and you'll get professional help on your situation. And if you're in no contact, focused on personal growth, my workbook series, The Knowledge, will help you make changes like you've never made before. Available now at AskCraig.net. Hi there, I'm Coach Craig Kenneth, and in this video, I'm going to be talking to you about an avoidant that shares that they do miss the connection. If you're going through a breakup and you're starting to realize that your partner had more of an avoidant attachment style, it can be scary and overwhelming to think that they don't care about you. It's painful enough after a breakup to think that that person doesn't really care. We start to wonder if they ever cared or if the things that they said they meant. But if you start to see, oh my gosh, they were avoidant, it can be even more scary and more challenging because they shut down more and they get more closed off and cold. And so you think, well, that's it. I'm never going to hear from this person again. I can tell you that is simply not true. I have coached many avoidant people over the years, and they always tell me that it is a lot more difficult for them than they show or they let on. They kind of keep that stuff together, and it makes sense, okay? Because the reason that people form their attachment styles is because of what happened in their early childhood. That is where it comes from. Yes, sometimes people can have trauma and things that happen that kind of change you, but overall, that attachment style is formed in those first 3 to 4 years of life. Okay, Margaret and I talked about this for many, many years, even before we put out one video on the channel. So understanding that the people that became avoidant because their parents shut them down, they didn't allow them to communicate. Many of them grew up in homes with an attitude like, well, you're going to cry about that. I'm going to give you something to cry about. So what does that tell them? It tells them, I can't talk about those things. It's overwhelming. It's scary. I'm going to get yelled at. I'm going to get punished. And so they are scared to open up and share those things to you. And if you're going to be with somebody like that, you have to have some empathy. Okay? They aren't like this because they want to be like this. It was traumatizing. And as we've taught many times in many videos, trauma does not understand the present from the past. Okay? Trauma in our unconscious it's like in this timeless bubble. Okay? That's how Margaret used to describe it. In a timeless bubble. And so we don't understand that where in the present, when something that is brought up from the past, traumatic, happens. Does that make sense? Hopefully. But here's an example. So let's say your ex, when they tried to communicate what they needed or what bothered them to their parents, were yelled and screamed at and shut down. Their parents had an aggressive tone, an angry, agitated tone. They learn to keep those things to themselves, okay? So now, when they feel the need to talk to their romantic partners, they are scared that that is going to happen again. That's the way trauma works. And a lot of you anxious people are screaming at the screen, well, they're adults, they have to be responsible for that now. Yes, that's true. But you have to be responsible for yourself too. Because many of you anxious people always want to blame the avoidant without taking a look at yourself and how your inability to soothe yourself has pushed them away. That's the harsh reality, okay? It's tough to hear, but that's the truth. Many times, we call it the anxious-avoidant trap for a reason, because two people played a part in that. And so you have to understand yourself and how you, wanting certainty and assurances, may have been putting pressure on the other person. Okay? It's tough to hear. So make sure that you're really taking a good hard look at yourself and think about your other relationships as well, not just with this ex, but think about your other ex and if these issues were coming up. This is why we have the creative healing course. This is why I have the workbooks. There are thousands of questions in both that are going to help you reflect and grow and make the changes within yourself so you can at least do your part to give yourself a better chance of having a healthy relationship, either with your ex when they come back or for another person so you can have a great relationship with somebody new. I'm all about personal growth, being an adult, being accountable, and it's important to hold both people accountable. But it's very easy to see a mob form in the comments sections against the avoidant people. Now, I'm not saying that the avoidants don't deserve the criticism sometimes, but what often happens is when you get in that mob mindset, you're only focusing on what they're doing wrong and not really reflecting from an objective perspective. But I can tell you, I do coach a lot of avoidant people that open up because they can see that I'm going to try and help them grow and help them learn. And they have a lot of guilt and they have a lot of shame and they want to do better. And it's tough for them to do that. Okay. Now, anxious people struggle with that too. So it's about everybody being objective, looking at themselves and thinking about what they can do to be a better partner. And also thinking about what they want from another partner. Maybe you don't want to date another avoidant, and that would be fine. If you don't want to date somebody that has those issues, that's totally understandable. Okay? They are challenging. But if you love somebody and you really want to be with them and their issues, then understanding it is going to give you a better idea. Okay? So I have an email from an avoidant that wanted to talk about their experience being avoidant and what it's like for them to miss the connection, okay? They said, "Hi, Coach. We had a Skype recently where I was discussing with you how I see a lot of comments about avoidance having no emotions and how we get very villainized. So you thought it was a good idea to share my experience during my relationship as a fearful avoidant. I like this quote a lot. People don't know what they don't know. I had a very long relationship with an ex. He broke up with me because he didn't feel valued in our relationship." And this happens a lot. A lot of times when you're dating an avoidant, they aren't showing you that they value you as much as you value them. And it makes sense. Think about the connections they had with other people, the people that they were supposed to count on and trust the most. Their caregivers let them down consistently, hurt them, disappointed them, neglected them, abandoned them, and many cases, abused them. Okay? So why would they value something like that? Think about it. Why would you value something that isn't bringing you joy and happiness? It's bringing you pain and hurt. So that's why a lot of times an avoidant doesn't value you the way you value them. And here's the other thing. This really can feel personal, but a lot of times an avoidant will say they don't trust you. Even though you've done nothing wrong, even though you've been caring and loving and supportive, and they say, "I don't trust you." And you're like, "What? Why wouldn't you trust me? I've done everything to be there for you. I'm trying to show you." And you're right. But a lot of that is trauma, okay? They don't trust anyone. It's very difficult to trust anybody when your caregivers are untrustworthy. Okay, so let me go on here. I remember many of our fights ending with this question. Why did we do this to each other? Why are you like this? Isn't that interesting? The anxious person screaming, "Why are you like this?" And the avoidant screaming like, "Why are you like this?" And both of us answering the same thing. I don't know. Well, guess what? That's what I'm trying to help you with. That's what Coach Margaret and Coach Victoria have been trying to help you with, is seeing these things. We're far beyond just helping you get an X back at this channel. Yes, we want to give you the best chances to do that, of course. However, our teachings go way beyond that because we want you to find happiness and have a healthy relationship, whether it's with your ex or someone else, or even if you're single, that you find happiness within yourself and you're not so traumatized and devastated by everything that everybody do around you. And the more secure you become, the less you're going to be impacted by other people's behavior. Okay? Check out that creative healing course especially. We go a lot more into depth in things than we were able to with the workbooks, because when we were able to do a course, it allowed us to do new and different things that we weren't able to do technology-wise even 5 years beforehand, okay? Plus, we had a lot of new ideas based on, what we learned from creating the workbooks and what we wanted to also cover since then. Okay, so let's go on here. Initially, I felt really attracted to him physically, but what made me fall in love was the safety I felt around him. This is what we talk about, safety. How emotional safety is critical. But if you lose emotional self-control, you get angry, you're manipulative, controlling, safety goes out the window. His constant reassurance and the time and attention he gave me was like nothing I've experienced before. I had a lot of neglect and abuse in my childhood. You see? That's why I'm often able to predict things before I even read them. I have not looked at this email in at least 2 weeks. I set it aside, and I haven't looked at it in a while. I don't even know what it's saying here. But as you could see, things that I said happened in people's childhood are lining up already with what they're describing in their life. Because I've been doing this for so long, I already know the correlation in a lot of different ways. So you'll see, if you go back and watch this video from the beginning again, I said that these are the things that happen that lead to these avoidants, and now she is confirming that. When I would go out with my friends, he would get very jealous, get very upset, and would want to know who I was out with, where I was going, and how many hours I was going to spend with my friends. Okay, remember what I talked about with the anxious person? And how the anxious person plays into it earlier in the video? Here is what I'm talking about. You see, now we have the anxious person, but what are the chances the anxious person is going to be held accountable for how their behavior pushed this avoidant away? They don't want to. You guys get into that mob mindset of attacking the avoidant. But you've got to see this, because if you don't look at these things, you're going to continue to think you're wonderful and perfect and amazing, and you're going to continue to do these things when your ex comes back or with other people. Nobody's perfect. There are no perfect people on this channel. Only Margaret was perfect, okay? I'm kidding, of course. But honestly, you got to really look at these things because they do lead to breakups. Look at this. The ex was getting jealous of friends, getting very upset. Where are you going? Who are you with? How many hours are you going to be there? And so think about that. When somebody's doing that to you, you're like, oh gosh, I don't want to deal with this. They're freaking out just because I'm going out with my friends for a little bit. It gets overwhelming. It kills attraction. If I spent more time with them than I normally do, he would call me many times just to quote unquote check if everything is okay. Okay. So here we have the anxious person lying to themselves and lying to the avoidant. This is true. Think about it. The anxious person keeps checking to see if everything's okay. No. The anxious person can't sit with the anxiety of them being out. The anxiety that they're going to lose them, that they're catastrophizing, that they're going to lose somebody, or maybe they're going to leave them for somebody else. This is on the anxious person. This is not on the avoidant. If the avoidant is saying, hey, I'm going out with my friends for a bit, here's where we're going, here's what we're doing, and giving you some idea, that's enough. That's all they really owe you. They don't have to sit there and, be bombarded 25 times because they're out with their friends for 3 hours. And think about how you would feel if someone did that to you. You would be really agitated and annoyed. He would constantly text me. He would get more and more anxious if I didn't text him back soon, and he would end up getting mad at me. Think about the video I put out years ago, The Real Reason Relationships Fail. Write it down. Go back and watch it after this and see how this is directly correlated. Which made me frustrated, and I started to hide when I would see them just so I could have a quiet time with them. Being online became an issue as well. Constantly policing if I was online, talking to someone else, and not answering his text first. You see? Do you think that the anxious person was okay to do these things? Or is it their issue that they've got to work through? Okay? Because nobody's going to want to stay with somebody who's treating you like this. Policing you, getting angry and agitated, frustrated, yelling, controlling. It all kills attraction. Okay? And if this anxious partner had been more secure and more understanding, they wouldn't have been so threatened and afraid of all these little things. But this is what causes the anxious-avoidant trap. Morning text was a huge deal. He would let me know how important it was for him to get a good morning text from me when he woke up. And that can be exhausting, right? You feel like, oh my God, I have to send that good morning text. If I don't send the good morning text, I'm going to freak out. I mean, he's going to sound like Esteban from the Creative Healing course, one of the cartoon characters. Where are you at? What are you doing? Why didn't you send me good morning text? You've been up for 30 seconds now. How, you in the bathroom? Are you still sleeping? Why did your alarm go off 12 seconds ago? It gets a lot. It gets to be too much. And you know it's true. How this could set the tone of his entire day. Listen to the drama unfolding, all about a good morning text. Honestly, this would be exhausting for me. Meanwhile, me responding a little later was because when I woke up, I used to take a moment to myself, and this never meant he wasn't on my mind. I just needed a little time before taking my phone. And that sounds completely reasonable to me. Some people aren't morning people. Some people just need some time to themselves to get their day started and just have a little alone time. But if you're getting bombarded with these messages, first thing in the morning, I want the text, you're going to want to run away from that person. But here's what I'm talking about. You guys think avoidants don't care. Anxious people interpret this as they don't care. You don't care about me. But they're saying, I care. Just give me some time. I don't need as much closeness and as many interactions or as much intensity as you do. Adding new people on social media was a problem too. Oh boy, here comes the drama. He would always ask, why did you like that post? This made me think of him as insecure, which is accurate. Okay? Everything that they're doing is insecure. If you don't have any reason not to trust somebody, in other words, if they haven't done anything wrong, you haven't caught them cheating, lying, doing anything inappropriate, then that's on you, not on them. It's not on this person. They didn't, as far as we can tell, they didn't do anything wrong here. And would let me feeling not free to just add whoever I wanted. And what do we say? You want to make your person feel free. Love isn't about trapping somebody or trying to lock them down. That doesn't work. You could try it, but watch what happens to you. The more you try and force somebody and lock them down because you are insecure and you don't want to sit with uncertainty, the more you're going to push them away. Even when they care. Even when they want to be with you. You could see it happening in this dynamic right here. So I ended up opening a private Instagram account just so I could navigate social media without it being a problem. See, then it looks like this avoidant is up to no good. They felt like they couldn't be themselves. They felt like they couldn't do what they wanted to do, just follow who they wanted to or talk to whoever they wanted to. And now they have to be sneaky. And then it's a bad look. It looks bad if you find out about this other account, even though they didn't appear to have any ill intentions or devious side about it. Whenever we got together for a long period of time and then went our separate ways, here we go. Here's the struggle of the anxious person, right? Together's great, but what happens when we're apart? He would always tell me he found me distant after being together, and he felt like I didn't care about him enough. This is the dynamic. This is what causes breakups. But I just needed time to myself and didn't understand why he would take it so personally. I wasn't aware I was even doing it. You see, that's part of it too. The anxious person tends to be very sensitive and they take things so personally. Like, you don't care about me. You're not there for me. And instead of saying, okay, we just spent all this time together, they just may need a little time for themselves. They might need a little alone time, which would be normal after spending a bunch of time with somebody. Of course, all this led to arguments and would leave me feeling trapped, frustrated, and smothered by his behavior, and thinking to myself, sometimes even telling him, this is so hard, and relationships are not supposed to be this hard. How many times have you heard me say that the avoidant says this, right? Avoidants always have this mindset of relationships aren't supposed to be this hard. I'm not going to go down that road right now, but you could see the dynamic. But you could see that if he had eased off just a little bit and not been so intense, it would have given her a lot more space to give him closeness and to miss him and to be really, and to have been happier in this relationship. I found myself wanting to break things off, not because I didn't love him or didn't want to be with him, but because I had this feeling of losing something in the relationship, my freedom. And that scared me a lot. So this is all lining up with everything that I've been saying in this video and many of our other videos, right? If you want to love someone in a way that they feel free. And when you do, they miss you. They want to talk to you. They're not interested in other people because they're excited about what they have with you. But when you're lashing out, losing emotional self-control, yelling at them, screaming at them, putting demands on them, making them feel trapped, it just makes them want to run away more. This is why I'm always trying to help everybody get to a more confident, secure place. Not just avoidants, but anxious people, people all over the mental health spectrum. Our goal is to get you in a better place so you can navigate these challenges because they're going to happen in all your romantic relationships. Okay? Let's go on here. The times I found myself less attracted to him was when I felt he was being needy and clingy, and whenever I felt he was not giving me enough space for myself. More of what I've just been saying. But when he would back off, relax, and even gave me more space than I wanted, then I would find him the most attractive. I would even become anxious. Guys, this is what I'm talking about. And this is just kind of like what we say with no contact. When you leave them alone, it allows them to miss you. It allows them the space to feel that anxiety, to miss you, and to reach out. None of this is a surprise. This is all lining up with the work that we've been teaching here for years. I'm going to read this again. When he would back off, relax, and even gave me more space than what I wanted, then I would find him the most attractive. I would even become anxious. You're doubting me? You're doubting no contact. You're afraid. You want to reach out. Reaching out, chasing is just more of the same that may have gotten you into this position already. So this is why we say just leave your ex alone and allow them to reach out when they're ready. I always wonder why I felt that need for space even though being with him made me the happiest. Being with him made me feel like I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Yet I'm also afraid to lose myself in our relationship. Okay, so this is more articulation of what I'm always telling you. This is a really articulate avoidant explaining this stuff, to be honest with you guys. But this is what we say, right? They love the connection. They love spending the time with you. But that feeling of being smothered and trapped, it almost feels like they're killing your identity in a way. And people hate that feeling. Being with him, for me, felt like I wouldn't want to be anywhere else. Yet, I'm afraid to lose myself in our relationship. And this is no surprise because many people feel like they're losing their identity and it scares them. Avoidants mostly fear that more so than anxious people. Everybody can fear it, but avoidants, for some reason, tend to be more sensitive to it. Okay? So this is why the smothering makes them feel like they're losing their identity and then they want to run away. Most avoidants are unaware of how they're behaving. We could appear cold and emotionless, but it's not intentionally. Love is just hard for us. And we do miss the connection when it's gone. This is what so many avoidant people think in their breakup. Not all of them are able to articulate as great as this person did. But when they do, this is often what they say to me. This is often what we hear. So when you can make changes and the anxious person can be more patient and more confident and not so smothering, they're actually going to see the avoidant able to give a little bit more. Now, it's certainly not on the anxious person to be the bearer of this relationship and, making the relationship work. It's on both people. But as you can see, the anxious and the avoidant often have the opposite issues in the connection, which is why one triggers the other, and then it seems to be this endless cycle that keeps going and going and going. And I'm trying to help everybody break that cycle. I'm trying to educate everybody into breaking it. Avoidant partners shut down easier, like a turtle in a shell, and they hide, and they're scared to open up. And if you're being intense and overwhelming, they're going to be a lot more likely to shut down and take more time to open up. So if you can calm yourself, soothe yourself, and not be as intense, they're not going to be as likely to shut down. Now, sometimes you don't do much and they shut down, and it's on them because they're shutting down easily. But like I said, if you're going to date somebody, understanding them is going to be a lot more helpful than just getting angry and lashing out and being upset because they're not doing what you want them to do. Avoidant people struggle to open up. They struggle to share their feelings. They struggle to maintain a connection. Many of them, if not most of them or all of them, didn't see anything healthy in their early childhood. Love was scary, intense, overwhelming, disorganized, neglectful, and abusive. So it's tough because the trauma from their childhood, just like the anxious person's trauma, comes out in that connection. But when we can get to a secure place, relationships are far more likely to be healthy, loving, empathetic, playful, caring, and a lot more rewarding. So hopefully this gives you some insight into an avoidant who was really able to open up and share a lot of their experiences. And hopefully this makes you want to look at yourself, because like I said, there's no perfect people on this channel. The more work that we do on ourselves, looking inward, thinking about our partner's needs, thinking about a healthy relationship and what it looks like, the more we're going to be able to create those things. Being negative, having a negative mindset might make you feel a little bit more protected in the moment, but it's not really going to lead you to a place of growth. Okay? So hopefully you found this one helpful. Of course, if you want to get my help personally, you can do that on my website, askcraig.net. I do email coaching and I do Skype. You can only get my creative healing course and my workbooks on my website. But that's it for this video. I'm Coach Craig Kenneth, and I will talk with you soon.